Hi guys, Stealth here. Today in World of Warships, the importance of team play. Now, team play is something that is encouraged in the game, but only to a certain extent. Especially smoke screens are very useful for your friendlies, but not enough people actually deploy them in that capacity. Except for Chromatic over here in the Fletcher. Now, my gameplay in this match isn't particularly stellar, but what Chromatic is doing in the Fletcher as far as coordinating with the team, communicating, and working together so that everybody has the benefit of his smoke and that there are no overlapping smoke screens in the sense that smoke is wasted. This guy is doing a fantastic job at that. Now the Kutuzov, or the Kutuzov, or however you'd like to pronounce it, is a pretty damn good anti-destroyer cruiser. It's technically a light cruiser, and it is very capable of shooting destroyers with reasonable accuracy at great range. There are only two destroyers, unfortunately, the Kagero and the Fubuki. The rest of the lineup consists of a number of battleships, mostly Germans today, a couple of cruisers, and as mentioned, just these two, so I don't really have that many targets to shoot at. Now, Chromatic over here is already announcing in chat, look guys, I'm going to smoke the entry of C for you, if I am supported, and he's going to capture C if so. So I'm going to be slowing down here, using his smoke, but just the sheer use of the smoke, as well as the coordination, is already massively helpful. Because this not only covers me, it also covers the ships behind me, which is a Nagato and a Hipper. And the other Hipper on my port side is likely to also be able to make use of the smoke, provided he gets a little bit closer. Now, Chromatic says, okay, now you help me. So I move up slightly. Be sure to stay behind the smoke screen here. And as he is going to be spotting targets, I'm going to be trying to hit them. And considering that usually the first target spotted is in fact a destroyer, this should be a pretty easy target for me. Range in the Kutuzov is, I believe, 19 clicks, 19.1 clicks to be exact. And with a gun speed or a muzzle velocity of 950 meters per second, this thing can quite reliably hit targets at great range. First thing I'm spotting actually is the York, or that the Fletcher is spotting, I should say. And just being casually, actually not stationary, reversing. Without a DD spotted, I decide to engage this York instead. In the meanwhile, Kagero has been spotted, 14 clicks out. At this point my Kutuzov was still pretty new. I still wasn't too familiar with the shell arcs and the accuracy, so my shooting wasn't that good. You can see that Fletcher, the Chromatic in his Fletcher, is taking the right flank, whereas the Fubuki over on the left is dividing the cap with his torpedoes. He's sending out torpedoes luckily, or it looks like to be against the York, possibly the Otago as well. And unfortunately I don't really have shots at the Fubuki or the Kagero, so I'm just shooting more or less where I expect that thing to be, as well as once again firing at the York. Now Chromatic is also asking for coordinated fire. Always a handy thing to have. Not too many people use it. It is hovering over a target or having a target selected and then pressing F3 in case you're not familiar with it. And it gets all the ships to fire at the same target, provided that people actually listen. Now I'm saying let's push it to C. They only have a destroyer and two cruisers there. Chromatic is already telling us that his second smoke is going to be up in 20 seconds, and again, massively helpful. Pushing forward, trying to close in on the Fletcher so that he's going to be, or that his smoke screen is going to be the max benefit to me. You can see he's coming towards us, whereas he really didn't have to, unless he was trying to distance himself. But no, he is actually coming towards us to help us out. There's the smoke screen. And unfortunately we have a bit of a miscommunication here. As you can see, a small triangle of ships appearing here. My Kutuzov, the Hipper, and the Fletcher. And fortunately I am inside the smoke now, so I reversed speed maximum. And Chromatic once again saves me from a lot of damage through the simple use of his smokescreen. Kagero moving away. Looks like we can get this guy before he manages to make it out too far. 10 clicks out, very easy prey for a fast-firing, high shell velocity cruiser like Kutuzov. And this is really a prime target for me. It can do a lot of damage, and I have some of the fastest gun arcs, or the fastest muzzle velocities in the game. So with that, I always prioritize destroyers. Couple torpedoes coming in, looks like a parting gift from Kagero. And fortunately, they didn't really run long enough to actually do the damage that they intended to do. With C captured, it's time to start moving up. There are some battleships over the horizon on the left, and they seem to be pushing towards B and or supporting C. So we either need to get some cover, or we need to try and find our own battleships and have those guys help out. And those battleships are in fact here. We have the Scharnhorst and a second Scharnhorst right next to it. So we should have enough battleships here to start making life quite difficult for the Nagato and the Tirpitz that have decided to show up. Trying to put long-range fire here into the Nagato. And let's have a look at what Chromatic is up to. He's pushing forward, probably trying to get his torpedoes off, which on the Fletcher are fantastic. That is, if you have the upgraded torpedoes. The base torpedoes are good, but the upgraded torpedoes are even better. And by now I have the gearing, but the Fletcher is, as far as torpedoes go, better than the gearing. Couple more rounds trying to put the Tirpitz on fire instead. And this Tirpitz is currently trying to veer off, but not before I put him on fire. You can see Chromatic still moving slightly forward. He is definitely taking point, and it looks like he might be trying to put up a smoke screen to defend the Scharnhorsts now, which once again is a very, very useful thing, or a very useful application of the rather unique aspects of a destroyer, which is the smoke screens. Unfortunately, Tirpitz has managed to get behind the island, but Nagato not so much. But oh, look, Fubuki over on my port beam. Let's engage this guy instead. Get all the guns to start turning around. Unfortunately, Fubuki wasn't exactly where I wanted him to be, but nevertheless, quite a few hits. More shells going in. Lead was not really enough. I should have hit him slightly farther forward. But it's well enough. He's on fire. He has quite a few incapacitations already going on. And no more destroyer. That's both of their destroyers gone, while we still have all of ours. And once again, have a look at Chromatic here. Putting up a smokescreen in front of both the Scharnhorst. So once again, he is using his smoke not for his own benefit, but for the benefit of the team. That is just fantastic team play. It's something that you rarely see, and that's something that you definitely don't see enough. I'm trying to find the right target here, as I take some rounds from the Atago. I do have my own smoke screen. I'm putting up the smoke screen and slowly reversing into my own smoke, making sure that I'm no longer detected. I was not that much in a hurry to try and put up smoke for the Scharnhorsts, considering they were seemingly oblivious to the smoke. And I doubt I would have been able to provide much smoke anyway, because my smoke screen generator just doesn't run for as long as that of a destroyer. But it is a perfectly suitable self-defense smoke screen. Now, Chromatic in his Fletcher has been able to kill off one of those cruisers that was hiding over there. The Atago is no longer with us. I'm firing at the York, trying to put him on fire, and there we go. And unless he puts this thing out fast, which he does, he is almost sinking, almost out of hit points. As for the rest of the ships, Nagato and Tirpitz over here. We do have some ships coming in from the port. A Gneisenau, a New Orleans, or what's left of the New Orleans, as I just took a massive hit from what I think was this Tirpitz over on my rear. And in the meanwhile, we have taken control of C, but A and B are still firmly in enemy control, or under enemy control. As far as the team go, we have 3 more ships than they do. At least alive, that is. And so long as we can capture more zones, we should be fine. Now, destroyer time. Fletcher and both Fubukis are pushing into B, where with just one battleship surviving, the guys are now there, he's going to be in for a very hard time, considering that it's going to be difficult for him to actually detect all of those destroyers, let alone be able to kill them before they just hammer that area with torpedoes. Other guys are now coming in from the island there on the south, or at least, yeah, slightly to my south. I have detected him, and I decide to go for it. I just want to gun it. I want to head for full speed. And I have 8-kilometer torpedoes on this ship, so let's have a look and see if I can get close enough. He's already at 12 kilometers out and closing fast. Now the trick is always trying to predict when and where this ship is going to start turning and where you can expect it to happen or where you can expect it to go next. The torpedo lead indicator is quite useful, and so far he seems to be heading in a straight line. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes hunting for those destroyers and starts to come around the corner here. Again, checking the torpedo lead indicator. No real changes in his course, but oh, here we go. He's coming to his port. Or is he? 6 clicks out, so well inside torpedo range for me. Chromatic, in the meanwhile, again putting up a smoke screen. This time finally for his own benefit, as he's also fired off a couple of torpedoes heading for the Gneisenau. Talking about Gneisenau's, this one is turning. It is coming to port, making a hard turn, trying to either take cover behind the island or to go after the destroyers. I'm not sure which it is. I've loaded armor penetration rounds in order to get the maximum damage, because at this range, 3 clicks, even my AP can do quite a bit of damage against him. Knocked out a turret, always handy at this short range fighting. A couple more rounds going in. 3.5k. The Gneisenau has spotted the torpedoes and is trying to steer away from the threat, but unfortunately not enough. 10,000 damage from the torpedoes. Gneisenau suddenly down to 10,000. He did fire his own torpedoes in response, but I kind of saw those coming, so started turning away. 6,000 left on Gneisenau. Another salvo goes in. I switched to HE. At 5 clicks, I'm not too confident about AP, although they probably could have penetrated. But if I can just do enough HE damage to this guy, he's toast anyway. There we go. No more Gneisenau. In the meanwhile, B has been captured by all the destroyers that we have in here. And at this point, the enemy team just really didn't have that much of a choice or a chance left. Once again, well played to all the destroyers, as I mentioned in the chat, as these guys have put up a very, very significant smoke screen. This allows me to get closer to the battleship that's somewhere right ahead, as well as this York-class cruiser, which I'm trying to close on, so that I can once again hammer this guy with armor penetration. There's the battleship. Gneisenau, once again, seemingly going to be into hiding behind the island, yet without any good result. I mean, this guy is not too likely to do anything too useful. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the post-battle result screen for this battle, because my play wasn't that impressive, but Chromatic got a ton of XP. And I believe that he, with his smokescreen, was a massive help to the team, although he didn't quite get the credit that he deserved for that. Because smokescreens, while they are extremely helpful, don't actually get you any XP. The capping does, and that is definitely something that he helped out with as well. I don't want to close in too much on Gneisenau, firing a couple of HE rounds instead, but it looks like this guy has all sorts of trouble, as a wall of torpedoes is impacting the ship, leaving the York in quite an unfavorable position. Time to load the AP, because this guy is now broadside on. AP loaded, aim for the waterline. Let's see if I can do some damage. Oh yes, 5,500. 1 citadel. Let's see if I can do that again, because this thing is hammering our destroyers as well. 660. Bit underwhelming. Come on, let's finish him off. There we go, he's out. I lost quite a bit of health, but I'm still alright. 72,000 damage done. A couple of torpedo hits, a couple of floodings, one citadel. Perfectly happy. And with the last cap coming in soon, we completely obliterated the enemy team, captured all the zones, and this match is pretty much over. Anyway, what I wanted to highlight with this match is the fact that if you are a destroyer, such as a Fubuki, a Fletcher, whatever kind of destroyer you are, if you have smoke and you see that your team can use it in a strategic way by smoking an area that they need capturing, then by all means do so, because it is incredibly helpful. It can make sure that your team actually survives instead of getting picked off one by one. So make sure that if you have smoke, you use it to the benefit of your team. And otherwise, make sure that you stay close to your team so you can scout ahead for them. That's another role that I see destroyers not really doing enough lately. Maybe I don't have the right games, but the games that I do see, the destroyers tend to go completely off on their own and not scout and not smoke for their team, so make sure that you do when you're in one of these ships. Anyway, thanks you for watching. I hope you learned from Chromatic and his fantastic smoke screening. Great play. Let me see some of yours if you have some of these gameplays where you are the ones that's smoking. Otherwise, good hunting.